Welcome to another episode of the Last of the Action Heroes podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and I'm really excited today. This is an honored guest, okay? This is, I'm serious. Before he starts talking, let me just get a little bit of an introduction to my listeners. This gentleman, his name is Rocky. Now, I believe that's not his Christian name or the name that he was put on his birth certificate.
Yes, Rocco is the Christian name, but apparently Rocky is short for Rocco, or just a nickname, not short, I guess, because they're the same amount of letters. But I've always been Rocky. My name's Rocco, but everybody my whole life has been calling me Rocky.
Awesome. Okay. You heard his voice. Now, this guy, he is the main host of a show called The Super Ugly Show. When I first started listening to these guys, it was, I don't know how I found them. It was on YouTube, and then they went to Russo's Brand Network, and they started doing an audio feed on that network, which I kind of appreciated because I'm a podcast listener on my iTunes. And then Russo's Brand went to this paywall thing where it's hard to find them. Maybe, Rocky, you can talk about that later if you want. But these guys make me truly laugh. I've been listening to them for 5 years on their channel. I love your show, The Super Ugly Show. Okay, so everyone, welcome to the show, Rocky from The Super Ugly Show.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Yeah, but as far as Russo goes, we're on it, but not for much longer because, well, as you know, we're going to be stopping the show, not permanently, but just kind of to revamp and re-energize, recharge, and not taking it in a different direction, but just better it. You know, like we feel like it could be better. And after all these years, it's become very redundant for me, especially when it's just me and Rich. When it's just me and Rich, I love Richie, don't get me wrong. I could talk to him all day. But when it's week after week after week of just me and him, it starts becoming just almost like reactionary. You know, just like, this is what I'm going to say. I know how he's going to react. And it becomes, you know, monotonous almost. As far as the brand goes, we've always been free on the brand. Even when they have the paywall stuff, they have certain things that are free. And we were always a part of that. As of now, I don't know even what goes on with the brand because he has this channel attitude thing, but then russosbrand.com is still a thing. So I don't even know where to get the shows as far as the brand goes in general. Like, I don't know where to send people. It's really weird for us because we've been on the brand 5 years, 6 years. You wouldn't even know we're there, you know, unless we tell you we're there or if you just happen to stumble upon it. It is what it is. We love the brand. We love Vince. He's always given us an opportunity when honestly he shouldn't. I mean, who the fuck are we that he should even be like, hey, I'll at least put you on the website. Yeah. So the brand is our home. We love Vince. We love being a part of it. Like I said, we gotta change things up a little. I really think the most important thing is getting a permanent third guy in there. He won't be me and Richie as far as the show goes. Like if the show ever got picked up or it became big, he wouldn't be an equal partner. You know, because we've already dug the foundation in this thing. But we need somebody who can be there every week and just be a third ear, a third mouth. Because, again, me and Richie, sometimes he'll just be very quick to answer or give me a one-word answer. And then I'll be like, all right, well, there goes that topic because you gave me nothing, Rich. So, you know. But when you have a third person, you can look over them and go, well, what do you think? And they can either, A, continue to shit on Richie with me, or B, give me something to work with. That's our main thing, I think, really, is that we need a permanent third guy. Like when John's there, it's great, but John's unreliable. Pat was amazing, but Pat, he's young, he's still living life, so you can't really count on him to be there every Tuesday. And then just trying to get people to podcast in general, because a lot of people are very just shy. And I don't get that because, for one, no one's really hearing it. For two, once you start, like our first show, I was nervous for the first 2 minutes, but once you go, you immediately lose all that because you just forget about it, honestly. You just start doing your show and talking about shit and everything as far as like who's listening, do I sound stupid, all that shit just goes out the window almost immediately. But people don't understand that. That's what kind of sucks because I have a bunch of people that I always want to bring in that I've begged to do the show, and they just won't. Some people don't want to do it.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to beg for you to come on my show. And you've been on the Rocky Series podcast twice now, so this is actually our third time to podcast together. So thank you for giving me a chance there, Rocky.
Well, as far as you go, I'll always do it. There's a lot of people that ask me to do shows, and I'm like, no, No, I don't like doing other people's shows because you're not in control and they're in the control seat. And I'm so used to being the one in the control seat that when I'm not, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And I also don't want to, I guess, offend people because I can be very brash. I can cut people off. I can be very opinionated.
That's why I love your show. That's why I listen to it.
Well, a lot of people that do like our show, that like me, they love that about me. But there's a lot of people that go, fuck this guy, because I come off sometimes very arrogant and asshole-like. And I'm totally admitting to that. Most of the time when I'm doing it, what I'm saying is there's truth behind it. I'm never just saying shit just to sensationalize or be like edgy or whatever the case may be. I have conviction with what I say.
Again, I love your show. I wish if I had known how much I was going to enjoy your show over the years. You're a huge Rocky fan, of course. I love your love for Rocky, and you don't podcast about Rocky, but when you guys go on a Rocky tangent on your show, it actually makes me think, oh boy, it ups my game a little bit. I'm like, man, these guys are good at cracking wise about Rocky, and it's really fun to listen to. And I wish I could go back and find those clips and put together a Super Ugly Show Rocky power clip of all your rants and raves about Rocky being a bad father, all that stuff. I don't know. I've enjoyed it over the years listening to your rants on Rocky. Good and bad.
Honestly, I don't think there's a Super Ugly Show that's gone by where Rocky isn't mentioned at least once.
It's true.
Like, me and Richie both are insane Rocky head. It's easily our favorite franchise without a doubt. And as far as movies go, Rocky 1 or 2, depending on my days, in my top 3 to 5, but never above that. It's always 3 or 5. Like I said, depending on my mood,
Right.
It could be number 2. It could be number 3. Not Rocky 1 or 2, I'm saying, like in my top 5. Yeah, we love those movies. And I think that's kind of how everything came to fruition with us. I think something Rocky related happened and you caught it on our show, or maybe I tweeted. I forget how it happened.
I don't know how we connected either.
It was the Rocky connection. Definitely. It has to have been.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved you guys' take. There must have been some sort of take or something, and I just fell in love with the way you guys do things and what have you. So you've come on that show, and I've got you on this one today. Richie was supposed to be here, but typical Richie probably didn't even watch the movie, so let's be honest.
We actually started watching it.
Oh.
He gave me a haircut yesterday, and I told him about it, and he was like, yeah, I'll be there. And I'm sure he forgot, but either way.
Tell him I love him. I would have loved to have him here.
I absolutely will. But he put it on, and we started watching it in the barbershop. And then my cut was done, so it was only like 20 minutes, half hour into it. So Today I went to see Jackass with my son, a buddy of mine and his son. And then after Jackass, he immediately came home and was like, all right, I got to watch this movie, and put on The Substitute and started watching it. Now, before we get into this, I have to ask you something Rocky related. It's the Rocky vs. Drago director's cut. What do you think of it?
We did a whole episode reviewing it, but a long story short, I think it's cool that we got something like this. I think it's cool that Sly even did this for us. It adds just newness and freshness to the fandom. I mean, it didn't destroy the Rocky movie, and it didn't necessarily enhance it either. It just gave it, I call it, a different angle. So it was still the same movie, but we're seeing it through a different lens. The way I worked it out at the end was the robot still exists, okay? For example, there's no indication in the director's cut, for example, that there is no robot. It's just not shown. There has to be a fan out there who's good at editing that would piece together his alternate take with the original cut into one truly big ultra cut.
It's funny you say editing, because that was one of my biggest issues with that movie. Because the way they transitioned from some of the scenes to the next, it was so sharp and just like almost like they were taking a commercial break, but there was no commercial. You know what I mean? Like, it was very weirdly edited. Honestly, it's the last movie in the series as far as ranking wise. It's number 7 for me.
Right.
I wanted to love it so much just because it's Rocky, but I don't ever see myself going back to watch it. Like, I don't see a reason why to. None of the scenes that were added really were anything great or that compelling. Mm-hmm. And all the other stuff is in the original movie. So it's like, I'd rather just watch the original. To me, Rocky IV is not a good movie, but it is the most fun, rewatchable movie ever. As far as a good movie, it's not. It's a small script. There's barely any dialogue. It's 45 minutes of montages and music. It's basically a glorified music video.
And that's why it's frustrating that they took out so much and added so much. He should have made a 2-hour cut out of that film instead of making it short still.
He should have just added the extra stuff to it.
Exactly.
But taking out so many things that we loved, like he took out beloved moments. I believe he took out the hit the one in the middle part. Didn't he take that out? Which to me is one of the best lines of the fucking movie. That line stands out to me almost more than any other line in that movie because it's so stupid, but it's true. Like, it's like, I see 3 of them, hit the one in the middle. Duh, right? Yeah, the middle one is where I should go. And when you take that out, it hurts as a fan because I'm like, no, that's one of the best lines of this movie, and now you've removed it. So now I'm like, kind of fuck this movie now. Because why would you do that? They took out some of the sounds in Paulie falling in the snow, which is another hilarious moment. I liked the stuff with Adrian in the kitchen. I thought that was great. The other stuff with Apollo, though, again, it was very just unnecessary, and I see why it was taken out originally.
Yeah, they took out a lot of LaMilla stuff, too.
Yeah, I wanted to love it so much, and even when I left the movie theater, I was trying to force myself to be like, no, it was good. And the more I thought about it and then watched it again, I was like, this is just not that great of a thing.
Yeah. At the end of the day, are you going back to the original or the cut? If you're going back to the original, then I think most fans are doing that. That seems to be the consensus. Interesting exercise. Kind of cool that we saw different things. It was a fun thing to witness. But at the end of the day, rewatchability, you're probably going back to the original.
And it was cool to be in a movie theater and see a Rocky movie in the movie theater. My first movie that I remember was Rocky 4. I was 3. Yeah, 85. I was 3, and my father brought me and my brother to it. And it's one of the few memories I had of my father. He died at a young age. I remember leaving the movie. I'm sure you've heard this story. And my father, as the movie was ending, he looks at me. He goes, "Wow, Rocky really knocked his head off." And me as a 3-year-old, I'm like, "Did he? Did I miss the when did he? I missed that part." I was like, I didn't see his head got. I took it literally, you know. And so for years, I'm like, damn, I can't believe Rocky knocked it. Until I finally watched it again, and I'm like, he didn't knock his. Oh, dumbass, he just meant it, you know.
Reminds you of Mickey and Rocky 2. We ought to knock his block off. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Which all you Rocky people listening, Rocky 2 is the best one. You got a problem with it? Rocky SUS11 on Twitter. Come at me. It's the best fucking Rocky movie there is.
I always tag you there, Rocky. Anytime someone on Twitter says the Rocky 2 is the best, I make sure you're in on that discussion to get the support. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, so you watched The Substitute. This is, here we go. Thanks everyone for not enduring, but listening to that. I mean, Rocky and myself, of course, are huge Sly Rocky fans, and I knew we were going to have to do a little bit of Rocky talk. It goes without saying. But The Substitute is today's discussion. This is a 1996 film starring Tom Berenger. So what's your relationship with Tom Berenger as an actor?
He's always Jake Taylor, no matter what. When Tom Berenger gets brought up, which is almost never, because why would he? Jake Taylor immediately pops in my head. Major League. It's not his best film because Platoon is.
Yeah, Platoon is he was perfect in that role in Platoon.
One of my favorite scenes of all time is the Platoon scene when everybody's in the bunker and they don't know he's there, and he's drinking the Jack Daniels. And then he comes in and he does his whole speech, you know, and then the part with Taylor where he cuts him. That scene right there is phenomenal. It is one of my favorite scenes. I think it's so well acted. Everybody around him is on pins and needles because they're like, he heard us. Not only did he hear us, but now what is he going to do? And you got this young kid who's essentially a rookie in the Army, and he's now stirring all this shit with the head guy. Like, he's the Sergeant Barnes. He runs shit. But Charlie Sheen Taylor, he has Elias on his side. But even the relationship between Elias and Barnes is so good because you have literally complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Elias is more of like a hippie, peace-loving, you know, anything we can do where people don't get hurt, let's do that. Where Barnes is slit throats, shoot people, and ask questions. Don't even ask questions. Just keep it moving and just do what we got to do. But that movie is just so good. It's one of my favorite movies, especially as far as war movies. I think it's probably my top war movie. But then Major League, again with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, right.
I grew up on that movie. It was one of those movies that was just always around in the late 80s, early 90s. It was always on TV. It just seemed to always be in my, you know, line of sight. I've seen Major League. It's got to be 40, 50 times easily. It was just one of those movies that, you know, we always watched. We'd always go back to it. And again, he's awesome in it. But when you watch him in that, you kind of go, oh, this is who he is in everything. You know, like he really doesn't have much range. He's kind of like Kevin Costner, where he's just Tom Berenger in every role.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, people have made careers out of that. Even our beloved Sly in many ways, or Arnold. I mean, you kind of are who you are, what you present on screen. Very few people can be DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, or Tom Hardy.
Sly tried things. He failed miserably at
but
them.
He tried.
But he tried, like he was a villain in Spy Kids. King Shark, though, in Suicide Squad, even though he's just a voice, that was completely something different for him. And it was arguably the best part of that movie.
Yeah, agreed. So Berenger won a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor for Platoon, and he was also nominated for an Academy Award.
You know who he lost to?
For 86, no, I don't know who he lost to for that.
Platoon was 86?
Yeah, it was 86, yeah.
Wow, really? I thought it was a little bit later than that.
Then it's 7 years later, he was in the movie Sliver.
Oh my God, I forgot all about that with Sharon Stone, right?
Yeah, and William Baldwin. And he was...
Was he the cop, I guess?
I forget his role. He was nominated for Golden Raspberry 7 years later.
I think that movie was god-awful. And it was the follow-up to Basic Instinct, so it was...
It was another type of... Yeah, it was written by Joel Esterhaus, who wrote Basic Instinct, so it's another sexy thriller, Sharon Stone naked in the tub type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Which that movie... Don Amici won for Cocoon that year. Okay. Yeah, that's 86. Well, would it be the 87 awards, though, if it came out in 86?
If it was 86, it would have been the 87 awards, yes.
All right, yeah, it was the 87. Willem Dafoe was a supporting actor nominee, and Berenger. They both were. See? That's what I mean. That movie is so good.
And it won Best Picture. Platoon won Best Picture that year, I believe.
And Oliver Stone won
Best Director. Yeah.
Yeah. Who won, though, for Best Supporting Actor? Because... honestly, Barnes, like I said, it's one of my favorite roles of all time. It's like one of those roles, like you ever see True Romance?
Of course.
You know how like Gary Oldman or Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken?
Classic
scene. They're only in one scenes, but they basically steal that movie.
Yep.
All right, here we go. So the winner, nominees, Dennis Hopper, Hoosiers, Room with the View, and Michael Caine, Hannah and His Sisters. Well, who won, though? They don't say who won. All right, whatever. Who cares? It was probably Michael Caine. Either way. Yeah, Berenger will always be Jake Taylor, though. I absolutely love Major League. It's a hilarious movie, and it's very quotable. And like I said, it was one of those nostalgic, I grew up with it type of movies. So
my Tom Berenger journey is a little bit just like yours. I've seen Major League, of course. I've seen both 1 and 2. I don't have any recollection of them. I've seen them a couple times, like basically when they came out. I'm not a big baseball guy in general, let alone baseball films. So I did see them. I've seen them in, of course, Sliver, but I don't have a real journey with Tom Berenger as an actor, but you just pick him up in the lineup. He's just one of those guys that like, oh, yeah, there he is. Oh, there he is. But then he's done these sniper films. He's done like 7 sniper films. Have you heard of these films?
I remember when the first one came out. I didn't know it was still continuing. And I'm even seeing one here, Sniper Assassin's End, that came out in 2020.
Exactly. He's still doing that role.
That's incredible. I remember when it first came out in the early 90s, right?
Yeah, the first Sniper was 93. It was 3 years before this film. He had already started Sniper. So he's kind of doing this. I guess he was, still living large a little bit from Platoon. He's doing quite a few films. He was in Born on the 4th of July as well. He was actually Sergeant Gunnery Hayes in Born on the 4th of July.
Okay. I only watched that movie once. It was a rough watch just in general because of how sad it is. It's just a sad, depressing movie.
Yeah, that scene where Tom Cruise pulls out his pee bag, you're like, ugh.
That whole scene there in the military hospital and the way they're treated and just ignored. And, I have family who was in those types of situations and really how it is. Like, I had a cousin who was waiting months to get into a military hospital and ended up overdosing the day before he was going to go in. But, for months they had him on a waiting list. And it's like, dude, these people just served our country. They should have top spot in any hospital. I don't care what it is. Just get them the help they need. It's kind of disgusting. And then in Training Day, he was one of the guys in Training Day.
That's right. So he's had a big career. He's one of those guys when you see him. He plays basically the leader of this mercenary group. Now, do they truly exist? These mercenary for hire type groups?
I think there's mercenary for hires that do illegal shit, but most of them, as far as after they're done with their military service, become heavy security guards or bodyguards or things like that. In this movie, right off the bat, it starts out batshit crazy because he's trying to be hired from some guy who shits his pants and farts.
Before we get there.
We'll get to that part. But they're like, well, where's your video? And he's like, I don't have a video, because the guy before him, who is the least intimidating looking person ever, who does not look like he has any military training, who doesn't have any type of body that you would be like, oh, this guy probably knows how to handle it. You look at this guy and go, oh, he's some douche preppy from Beverly Hills. He's got this promo tape that someone made of his who's filming him during these mercenary things, or did he like just have that made? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And then when Berenger's like, I don't have a tape, they all look at him like, what? You don't have a tape? Of course he doesn't. Mercenaries don't make tapes.
When the world is giving you trouble, think John Janus. Soldier of Fortune magazine calls him the ultimate mercenary. And from Tripoli to Panama, he's proven it. Piano wire, knives, artillery, landmines, bayonets, helicopter rappelling, smoke jumping, parachuting, karate, missiles, guns, and his bare hands. They don't call him a one-man army for nothing. So when you want clean, private mercenary work at reasonable rates, think John Janus.
That was so hot.
Yeah, it really was. Great editing, too. Who was the editor?
That's a good eye, Matt. The guy does rock videos.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Why don't you stay and watch Mr. Shale's reel?
I don't have a reel.
I see. Well, why don't I show John out there?
Yeah. All right. John?
Thank you, Matt.
Get yourself a video, old-timer.
That part immediately started making me go, this movie's going to be a chore to watch. And boy, was it. But the other choices you gave me, I don't know if you want me to say them so I don't spoil anything, but I was like, this is probably the least of the bunch. And now I'm starting to think, no, maybe the other one with Berenger and Charlie Sheen might have been the better go-to, the better watch at least, because this one is just...
I was hoping that you would bring your game to this review, and you have. I didn't think when I gave you this as a selection that this was going to move the needle on any kind of Tom Berenger love, or the substitute was some sort of hidden gem. It was more of a curiosity factor because it's a movie that I've heard about over the years. And just by knowing the title and what little I knew about it, I didn't know that he was a mercenary for hire, but I knew that he was a badass who's coming into some sort of rundown.
See, you would think it'd be more like Dangerous Minds, where he's actually a teacher.
Okay, so Tom Berenger plays this guy. What's his name again in this film? James Smith as a teacher, but Jonathan Shale as the mercenary for hire. At the beginning of the movie, they're in Cuba, his group, and his group consists of a few notable faces that we recognize. We've got Raymond Cruz. We got Luis Guzman. You know him from Boogie Nights. One of those recognizable faces. When you see him, you'll know him.
What's fat Spanish guy in everything? The funny one, though. He's in Boogie Nights. He's in Anger Management. He's in Carlito's Way. I mean, you know, everybody knows Luis Guzman, I would think.
Yeah, so he plays Rem, and you got Raymond Cruz. He was in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul as a drug lord, Tuco Salamanca. His name is Joey Six in this film. And then we have William Forsythe playing the character, kind of the unhinged.
Who is on 10 at all times. He is the epitome of the loose cannon, wild guy, military guy that just... everything angers him, no matter what it is. He is just revving to go and revving to just bash shit, break things, shoot people. Someone can be like, hey, you want to get some tea? He's like, you're going to get me some tea? He is just a madman the whole time. I loved him in this.
Yeah, William Forsythe, he's a great actor. He's fun to watch, and it was fun watching him be full William Forsythe in this. And
you know what's good about him, too, though? If you go through his career, he's almost unrecognizable from movie to movie.
Yeah.
You know, like you look at him in Raising Arizona, then you look at him in this, then you look at him in Devil's Rejects. He always has a very different look than from his other film. It's pretty cool. And as far as range goes, though, he's basically the same, you know, angry, raged guy in most films, except Raising Arizona. He plays an idiot.
Of course, you enjoyed him in Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, that's right. He was great in that. I forgot he was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great in that.
And I actually first became a fan of his back when I was a teenager, a young teen. I watched the TV show, short-lived TV show called The Untouchables, based on the Untouchables film and the life of Al Capone. He played Al Capone in that TV series. He did a great job.
Worst casting of all time as far as looks go. You know, he was decent in the role, but I mean, as far as what Al Capone looked like,
Right.
Worst casting maybe ever.
But that's when I first got introduced to him, and I've been following him, or just a very familiar. Or put it this way, I don't follow him, but every time he shows up in a movie because he's in a lot, I'm like, oh hey, it's William Forsythe. He's fun to watch.
I'm the same way. I'm the same. Every time I see him, I'm like, all right, at least he's in this. But he's also in a lot of straight to DVD bad movies.
Sure, you got to make a paycheck. Yeah.
Say something real quick about Luis Guzman. Why is he even there? You're gonna sit there and try to convince me that guy's a mercenary? I'm never going to buy, like, I'm watching this going, why is he there? Like, all these other guys, all right, I can kind of buy that, you know, they're ex-military. You look at Luis Guzman, he's 4'8", 250. He looks like Super Mario. You know, no one's going to be like, yeah, this is the mercenary we need. Nobody's calling him.
Good call. I love it. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
and then also, Behringer's supposed to be on watch, and he fell asleep. Thank God he woke up in time. Because as soon as he shot the flare, they were like, all right, go. But there was no alarm. There was nothing that woke him. He just woke up. So, again, thank God he did what he did. But I'm watching it going, how good of a mercenary are you that you're sleeping on a job?
So at the beginning of the film, they're in some sort of mission for Cuba that doesn't go well. They lose a couple of guys from their team. And I love how they kind of just shrug the loss of their mercenaries. And this happens throughout the whole film, this group. All the deaths that happen in this group, only 2 people survive, Tom Berenger and Joey Six. They're the only 2 guys that survive.
Well, Luis Guzman could have. He killed himself for no reason. It's towards the end of the movie. We're going to be all over the place.
Yeah, of course. No, we're not doing this. We're not doing this in sequential order. There's no point. No.
But the end of the movie, there's a giant shootout in the school, which, again, the school just got all this new equipment and everything, which I'm sure was destroyed by the rocket launcher being shot in the school. But Luis Guzman's on the roof, and this guy comes over to him, a villain, and points a gun at him, I guess, to check if he's dead. And he turns over seemingly unharmed, not like, this is for you, like one of those, like, I'm shot and about to die. He's like, hey, this is for you, ha-ha, like kind of very energetic, and has a grenade in his hand and blows both of them up. But I'm watching that going, he probably could have survived if he didn't blow himself up. He didn't seem that injured. He didn't seem in pain at all, really. I'm watching and go, why did he do that?
How did he assume that his injury was fatal? Like, why did he automatically assume that this gunshot, I'm dying? Why not give yourself a chance to be healed and saved? Because he played dead, so the guy turns him over to shoot him. That's when he could have had his own gun in his own hand, so when he gets turned over, he just blows the other guy away.
Exactly. And like I said, his energy and his body mannerisms were not of somebody who was deathly wounded. It was someone of, I got hit in the leg, or, I got a shoulder shot. It was something to that effect, not I'm going to die in a few seconds.
He said boom. I think he said boom.
It was one of those, lines of like, this is for you, boom type. It was so just bad.
Yeah. The Cuban mission goes wrong. The U.S. military basically just owns them as a unit. Say, no, you guys are done with us. They're not getting hired anymore. They all go back their separate way. I guess they all live in the same area. So even though they're hired mercenaries, I guess we're led to believe that they all live in the geographical area.
Because you're military and everyone you're stationed with lives around the corner, right?
Well, I just thought because they're mercenaries for hire, I didn't think they'd all always just be geographically around each other. That's all.
Seems very convenient for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going, because there was something I do want to get to that they don't really explain at all in the movie. They kind of do, but they don't.
He has a girlfriend / fiance.
Because it acts like she's his sister. He gives her a noogie at one point.
Yeah.
When they get back from the hospital, he says something to her and then goes, you, and gives her a noogie, like something you would do to your sister or your niece. Their relationship is so weird. And then finally, towards the end, they were like, it was an on and off again thing. But throughout the movie, you're going, I don't know if they're brother or sister or what, because there is no sexual tension between these two at all.
Agreed. The movie does a horrible job of explaining the relationship. You're absolutely right. They could have been brother, sister, cousins, friends. It doesn't matter until there was a off-screen love scene. Anyways, this girl, her name is Jane. She's a school teacher at this inner city Columbus High School. And there's a big gang problem at the school, and she's one of the few teachers that stands up to the gang and says, hey, man, you are a bad person. She doesn't like the main leader. He's a leader of a gang called the Kings of Destruction, KOD.
Yeah, KOD. From what I could tell, though, the extent of her being involved in it is like, hey, break up this fight, and pretty much, I don't like you. Like, there was no, like, I'm going to call the cops and get you taken down. None of that. It was just, I don't like you. I think you're a dick, basically. She tried to break up a fight.
What is it with you? You determined to be OT'd? What?
What, I'm standing here. You always hassling. Why don't you keep walking?
I am not hassling you, Mr. Lockus. I'm speaking to you because you're an intelligent man, because you're a leader. I need you to look at me for 2 minutes, Juan.
I've heard the speeches, Jen.
I don't make speeches. I'm speaking to you with respect as a person.
Yeah, well, you're no person to me, bitch, right? So back off. Because if you don't,
If I don't, what?
wish you did.
And because of that, the head gangster goes, we are doing everything in our power to kill this woman. These guys are hard as nails because what do they do when they want to intimidate someone? They put gum on your lock on your door. Don't put them because they will put gum on your door.
Was that what it was? I thought it was cement or clay that dried.
She got through it either way. So
Either way,
was
she got through it, yeah.
Either way, it was ineffective for one, but for two, that's the best you can. And then there's a guy behind her just hopping his car with hydraulics, as if that's going to be intimidating. I'm like, what kind of gangsters are these? This isn't intimidating. You put gum on a girl's lock and you're bouncing a car, and there's 15 of you for one, 90-pound, 4'8" teacher. You're supposed to be the hardest dudes in Dade County, no less. If you know Dade County in Miami, it's where Kimbo Slice came from. It's where Jorge Masvidal came from. It's one of the worst counties and cities in the United States, like as far as gang violence and drugs and all that shit. It's hard as nails there, which, in this film, though, they don't have a police force at all. There's not one single cop that shows up. There's not one single second of police presence throughout this entire film, whether there's a shootout at a school, there's shootouts in apartment buildings, bodies are being thrown out of windows. The cops just don't care at all.
We learn near the end, though, the principal has bought off the local police. They're in his pocket to leave the school alone. So he has free reign to do what he needs to do at the school.
But then he goes to call the police earlier, if you remember. When the first body gets thrown out the window, he calls the cops and goes, I need someone here. And then more bodies start going out. And he's like, never mind, which I didn't understand that either. Like, why is more bodies are going out? And you're like, all right, never mind, please. And that was literally the only time you've ever heard any mention of police from anybody. Good guys, bad guys, it didn't matter.
Well, since we're talking about him, he's Principal Claude Rollet. Rollet? Was that how they pronounce his name?
You mean Warden Glynn?
It's Ernie Hudson.
Yes, and he will always be Warden Glynn to me from Oz. My favorite character of his.
Oh, he was on Oz. I've actually never seen Oz. I didn't realize he was in Oz.
You got to watch Oz. It's a little dated now because it was HBO's first drama. They were really trying to be edgy with it. Some of the acting is questionable, but it's a fun show. I loved it. And he was in every season. I don't want to say anything. I don't think he left until the end of it. But, most people know him as Winston from Ghostbusters, or you might know him from The Crow. He was, Detective Albrecht.
Yeah, yes. He's a good guy, good actor. If you can believe it, he's already like 76.
And he looks great, though. Like, if you see him still today, he looks phenomenal.
Oh, wow. Good for him. He plays the corrupt principal who used to be a police officer. Now he is a drug dealer, kind of a ringleader of the school who helps. Basically, the school, correct me if I'm wrong, Rocky, the school is a through zone for drugs. So the drugs come from the harbor, and they then bust the drugs through or to the school, and they distribute it.
It looks like through the cafeteria there that they, because they had a bus and everything where they were doing their meeting. But the school itself is more set up like a prison.
Can you explain the school? Now, where are you from? You don't mind saying where you're from?
I'm from Long Island.
Do schools look like this in the States?
Schools in America will have metal detectors because there's a lot of school shootings and, gang violence. But I've never seen one completely fenced around with barbed wire. Like, that's the first. That just doesn't happen because now you're treating them like inmates. This is supposed to be a learning center, and they're being held captive like inmates. It's like if you try to escape, you're going to have to go through razor wire. So, no, I've never seen razor wire. But metal detectors, clear backpacks are a thing in some schools. Yeah, no razor wire. And the way the gangs show up to school is amazing to me, too. And show up to class every day on time.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you. So these guys are so badass. They're so criminally involved, yet they don't miss any classes.
Never a day. Like, he's like, I'm not going to do anything here, but I'm showing up to school every day, which I'm looking at it going, why are any of these kids in this school? Because they all seem like none of them want to be there. They all seem like they're either going to end up dead or on the corner selling drugs. So what the fuck are they wasting their time at school? That, to me, was the biggest farce of the whole movie. that I'm supposed to believe that most of these kids even showed up to school.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. They're gangbangers and they're criminals. They've been shot at. They're part of shootings. They're doing the shootings. Yeah, they are not missing a history class.
They have that one scene where everybody starts bragging about their being shot in the in class, and literally every kid stands up like, I've been shot here. I've been shot. Even the girls start standing up. It's crazy.
Well, let's talk about who's the leader, Rocky. Who's the leader of the Kings of Destruction? Don't forget this guy.
Someone who is very intimidating to the eye, that if I seen him, I would be like, watch out for this guy because he seems like a problem. Mark Anthony, J-Lo's ex-husband and notorious romance singer. If you know Mark Anthony, he's built like Screech, if I could pick somebody. So,
I think Screech is bigger.
He probably is. But again, you look at Mark Anthony and you go, who's casting this movie? Like, Luis Guzman's a mercenary. Mark Anthony's supposed to be the baddest Dade County. I don't get it.
And he's playing a high schooler. You know how old he was in this film?
Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. What grade are these kids in? Because they all look like they're 25 to 30 years old, but they can't be seniors. They can't be.
Well, you could argue they've just failed 10 times.
That could be true, but eventually you're getting kicked out. Mark Anthony looks no younger than 25.
He's 28 in real life in this film.
So how good am I? The black kid that gets tied up, that kid looks like he's, again, 25 to 30 years old.
He's got grandkids at this point.
Yeah. That was another thing that I love, too. This school, they can't afford football equipment. They can't afford VCRs for the classroom. They can't afford tubas for the music program, which, he steals money from drug dealers and supplies all these things. And there's no chaos or riot. He just goes, hey, all this shit is out front. Go have at it. And everybody in orderly fashion, for some reason, in the school that needs razor wire around it, is able to nitpick from these things. But
are you talking about the goodie giveaway?
Remember when he stole the money from the drug dealers?
Yeah, that was a good scene. So yeah, there's a scene in the movie there for our listeners who probably aren't going to watch this film where Tom Berenger's group of mercenaries, they basically, if you haven't figured out already, we should say the girlfriend, basically she gets attacked while she's on a jog by a gangbanger, this big Native American with a club or a stick.
Like a broomstick. And what was that girl's legs made out of? Graham crackers? Like she got hit with I'm not kidding. Go and watch that scene. It's a broomstick. It's not a baseball bat. It's a fucking broomstick. And this girl goes down like she was hit with a lead pipe. It is the most ridiculous. And then has to spend days in the hospital. Not, here's a cast. All right, get out. You broke your leg. Days. He says you're going to be here for a couple days. A couple days for a leg injury?
Yeah, it should be in and out. Get the cast, go home.
Yeah, there was no surgery needed. There wasn't bone sticking out. There was no mending back. It was place it, put the cast on, get the out of here. But she had to stay there for days, which conveniently gave this guy days to be a substitute with zero credentials.
Yeah, so there you go, folks. So he wants to investigate the attack because he's pretty certain that, well, according to her, she's like, I think this attack was a hit from the Kings of Destruction from the school.
And, a hit because she doesn't like him. Again, there was no animosity thrown his way from her other than, I know you're a scumbag and I don't like you. That was pretty much it.
Well, you could argue there, Rockies, because that's how bad they are. These are how badass these guys are, that they will take you out just for standing up to them. That's how dangerous these guys are.
Well, they do. They take out the black guy with the dreads who is in Speed and South Central.
Glenn Plummer?
That's it, Glenn Plummer. They take him out again for essentially the same reason, but in school. And the security guards, the principal, which the principal, if you notice, this was a nice little touch, also holds his gun sidearm. To remind you that.
Well, this was the 90s. This is the shoot the gun sideways era.
But wasn't he a police officer?
he was.
No police officers shooting sideways. They know you're not going to hit your target.
No, but he's a gangster now. Now that he's a gangster, that's the rules.
That's the rule. You got to change it now. You can't be part of us unless you shoot sideways. Yeah, they just kill at will. Like I said, there's no police ever anywhere, no matter what you do as far as noise goes. Say the school, like I said, that's basically the poorest school I've ever seen in my life. Has enough funding for a full-time daycare, though, for the younger students who have children. I've never heard of a school having a daycare to begin with.
I was going to ask you, again, you're in the States. Maybe have you ever seen that, a full-on daycare for teenage pregnancies?
That is not a thing. They have schools where pregnant girls will go to.
Okay.
but not, schools where we'll watch your kid for you while you're at school. I've never heard of that. That's batshit crazy as well.
Okay, so now Tom Berenger's character, Jonathan Shale, he's now going to substitute for his girlfriend / fiance / sister, we're not too sure, to get to the bottom of who this gang is. And of course, Juan Lacas, who is played by Mark Anthony, he is actually in this history class. This is your typical, what's that movie, Dangerous Minds moment here, where you've got the Great White Hope, Tom Berenger. He's able to, even though at the beginning he comes off tough, he shows his male dominance over the students, puts some fear into them.
I'm in charge of this class. I'm the warrior chief. I'm the merciless god of anything that stirs in my universe. You fuck with me, and you will suffer my wrath.
Gets a little bit of respect and fear from the gang, but then students start listening to him, and he starts sharing his actual history of Vietnam because he was there, and they actually start listening, and they relate with his war battle with their street battles, war in the jungle, war in the streets type stuff. Then he actually gets through them. You notice that, how by day 2 or 3...
Day 2. Day 1, they treat him like shit. He gets hit with the can. Day 2, they throw the can. He catches it this time because the first day it hits him in the back and he just ignores it. This time he catches it, empty can, throws it back at the kid, and puts a wound on this kid's head as if he was hit with like a discus, from an empty aluminum can. Like the kid has a substantial wound on his head from it.
Well, that's how strong he is. That's how strong. This guy's a mercenary, man. You don't mess with this guy.
Well, he has ninja stars as well for no reason. It's not explained ever, but towards the end, he throws ninja stars at one guy. So I love that, too. I was like, where the f did he get ninja stars from? But, of course, he has them. But, yeah, day 2, he immediately gets the kids on his side, every single one of them except for Mark Anthony, which there's a moment where I think we're supposed to feel bad for Mark Anthony because it turns out he doesn't know how to spell. Because when he spells I'm sorry, he spells it S-O-R-E-Y. And no one corrects him, though. The teacher doesn't even correct him. But I felt like they were trying to have like that moment of like, oh.
Yeah, he can't read and write, yeah.
He can't read or write, poor him.
2 things here. Either everyone's so afraid of Mark Anthony's character that they're not going to say anything, but I find it funny that these guys rag on each other for everything that not one student said, hey, moron, you spelled sorry wrong in the background.
Exactly. Well, that's how terrifying he is. That no one would dare, point out a mistake that he made, because if you do, he might put gum on your lock. And we all know how annoying that could be. The kid starts rapping out of nowhere in the classroom, which I think impresses the teacher, but I'm not really sure.
What's your name?
I'm Jerome, dog. 16-inch wolfer from Opalaka, straight from the bottom.
Who up there, kid?
Opalaka, never drop her. Time on my peoples. Keep it real, cause it's sleeping. Ain't nothing sweet, dude. Miami hands gets down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's real special, Jerome.
You do listen to rap. I don't actually, so I wasn't able to really comment on the rapping abilities. Rocky, what would you give that rap song a score of?
Oh no, that's terrible. You could tell some like white guy who thinks he knows rap wrote that and was like, this is gonna kill it in this scene.
Was that better than Eminem and 8 Mile or no?
Oh yeah, by miles. I mean, it made Eminem look like Vanilla Ice. It was just I recorded it just off of the TV and I was putting it in my car and just playing that verse over and over again.
Man, you're probably you're the envy of every car stopped next to you, I tell you.
People pull up next to me and they go, hey, what is that? And I go, it's the freestyle from The Substitute. Cop that shit. Yeah.
The freestyle from The Substitute.
That's fire. Yeah.
That's never happened. You've literally have said something that has never been said in the world's history. That's the freestyle for The Substitute. Oh, that's good.
But I even quote, like in an instant, all the kids comply because he just comes in angry the next day. And they he didn't relate to them in any way until after, he went in there like a maniac, slamming things and breaking kids' hands and throwing things. He's assaulting children, essentially. These are children. Even though they don't look like it, he's in there assaulting children. And the principal's okay with it. He's like, we don't do that anymore, but he looks the other way with it. And then...
yeah, he's broken open a kid's forehead and he's broken another kid's wrist. His response was it was self-defense.
Yeah, yeah. And then the principal, to show how badass he is, takes his ass paddle, that principals will have, the old paddle that teachers and, hazing in college, they use those paddles. He takes it, holds it in front of him, and punches through it. Don't know why. It seemed like that paddle had some kind of importance. He just wanted to, swing his dick in front of Berenger and be like, look how badass I am.
Do you remember what he said after he broke the board in half?
I don't. I tried to listen, but there was stuff going on, and I was like, I'm not rewinding again.
After the principal broke that board in front of Tom Berenger, he says,
power perceived. It's power achieved.
That's right. That's right. And for anyone out there who knows what it's like to punch through a board, not that difficult. Unless you're holding it with one hand out in front of you and no one else is holding it. Because if he punched it, it would have went back. You know what I mean? Like the force of the punch wouldn't have broke the wood because both ends weren't being held.
Well, that just shows you how strong the principal is, that he's able to hold that board so sturdy that he can break it at the same time. Yeah. But you're right. Yeah. If you push on the board, your hand's going to move forward. That's holding the board. You're absolutely right. Good catch.
Past the board without it breaking. It's just going to, like a swinging door.
So after this second day of school, like you're saying, he finds out, of course, that Wallachus is the leader of the Kings of Destruction. So now he's hired his mercenary group to help him out at the school to get to the bottom of this drug distribution within the school.
It's a heist. It's more of a, because they plan on taking the money.
Right.
They say that. They go, at least we'll make some money out of this. All of a sudden, it becomes a heist movie. Like, wait a sec. I thought this was going to be like Dangerous Minds where, some of the students are trying to kill him and some of them are on his side. And in the end, he gets the bad guys and all the students that were bad, but now, see the light, will get that. And he went on to be a doctor and that sort of thing. But no, this becomes a heist movie.
Well, yeah, they do interrupt a drug deal. It was a $500,000 deal, which is quite a bit of cocaine. No, $500,000 worth of cocaine.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know the going rate on cocaine.
I don't want to incriminate you there, Rocky. They take the cash and the drugs from this deal. I love how the mercenary group, they just cold-hearted to shoot those two drug dealers. Those two guys on the boat. No questions asked. They just shoot them.
No warning, no nothing. He literally just went up on them and got their attention so they could see him, make sure that I'm the one killing you. But there was no, give me your shit. There was no, hey, hands up. It was just, here I am, boom, 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 boom. And again, no police showing up where he had enough time to get into a full-on fist fight with the big guy. And his buddy's like, hey, no ninja shit.
Not fair, Shale. None of that goddamn ninja horse shit.
Are we having a fight? I can't use the skills that I've learned in this fight. That part, too, was weird to me because it's like, no, this is a fight. And you're now the reason. Because Forsythe shows up and seems like he's selling them out.
Yeah, that's right. It looked like he was...
The only reason why he was there was to make sure it was a fair fight between Berenger and the big guy.
Tom Berenger's character was so strong and powerful that Forsythe's character was like, hey, man, you can't just take him out with the ninja stuff. You got to just, just hand-to-hand combat, normal punching, no ninja stuff.
Yeah, which, again, was very odd to me because in a fight, you should be able to use whatever...
Your life's on the line. Use whatever you got to do to stay alive.
Yeah. But one thing also, if you watch the fights in this movie, it's almost as if they're filmed in slow motion. They're so slow and the punches are so slow. You watch Berenger throw these kicks and he can't get them high, so they're always chest level, but he never lands them. He doesn't land. I think he lands one kick on the beach, but the guy was bent over. But he goes to throw the kick with the big guy in the fight by the water, and that's when Forsythe is like, hey, no ninja shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, he was just throwing a kick. How is that ninja shit? Like, ninja shit was coming out of the shadows, dropping down from the tree. No one saw me. I slit your throat, and I'm out. Ninja shit is not throwing a wheel kick.
I think he just thinks anything that's not punching is some ancient Asian fighting style.
You could tell he's probably a sick racist to Forsythe's character. He doesn't seem like he's
he was kind of like he was really mistreating that Native American at the end there, saying he was going to scalp him and stuff.
You hear that, Johnny?
As soon as Shield gets here, I'm gonna scalp you, mother.
That's what I mean. Like, you look at Forsythe's character, and I mean, you couldn't have gotten a more over the top performance, I don't think, ever in anything. Like, it's so over the top of like, you're going to be the wild card mercenary. And he was like, okay. And I'm turning it up to 11. And boy, did he, because it is just, like I said, the most over the top, over energized performance ever. And I think if honestly, in some of the moments, if he toned it down, his character would have been great.
Yeah.
It's just he was so eccentric that you're like, I can't even take this guy seriously. Like there's a news report on, and he loses his mind over a news report and kicks the TV. And the one guy's like, dude, I was watching that. Why don't you just change the channel? He's like, take the TV. I want to. And everyone's like, all right, here he goes again.
You know who he reminded me of? I think Stallone must have been a fan of this movie because he patterned Dolph Lundgren's character from The Expendables after this character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's, again, another fantastic performance. Dolph's always, great.
That loose cannon blonde hair guy. This Dolph Lundgren, he might have watched The Substitute to channel William Forsythe's character.
You know what else made me laugh, too? When he goes to intimidate the little wormy guy that farts and shits his pants. Which we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, talk about that scene. So that was kind of the beginning, but yeah.
When they're reviewing Mercenaries, this couple that's reviewing Mercenaries for a job, his wife leaves, and this guy lets out the biggest fart ever in film history, and he goes, a lot of fiber.
Oh, God, that's better. I've been holding that for 20 minutes waiting for her to leave.
Thank you for sharing.
10 grams of fiber every morning. Flushes all the toxins right out of your system. It's great. Regularity is the key. You want some?
No, thanks. I flushed this morning.
And you're like, why the would they have that part? Like, was that necessary?
It was loud. That was so loud, and it was like, are we watching an Adam Sandler film? What happened here?
It was like, why did... But there's one part of like, here's a fart joke in this movie that literally has zero humor in it otherwise. And then the guy shits his pants when Berenger's like, yeah, I'm not doing your job, and he tries to get in his face, and the guy shits his pants. And I always wondered how guys like that make it as far as they do in the criminal underworld.
Right.
Because he's such a worm. I'm sure he has like math skills or something. But either way, like, you could find a guy for that. Like, and this guy was such a wormy shithead that you would be like, this guy wouldn't have lasted all this time, decades in this criminal organization, it seems.
Well, this was played by a guy named Cliff DeYoung. You probably recognize him. He's one of those guys. He kind of plays the same type of squirrely, creepy, weird guy in all of his television and film.
He's always like a dirty lawyer or a dirty banker or something like that. But Berenger goes to see him at this game he's playing. I forget the game it's called. It's where you have those weird
July Eye or something. What's it called?
Where you fire those balls out of those weird. They almost look like big ass fingernails. You ever see girls with long fingernails? Imagine that on your arm. That's what it looks like. And you whip the balls out. He starts attacking Berenger with those. And again, Berenger's a mercenary, and you're going, this is your attack on a mercenary? You're going to lob some balls at him? Like, really? I wish, though, like, that would have been the end of the movie. Like, that was the guy to take Berenger out, and they would just, he killed him with these balls. He hit him a lot with them, and that was it. But there's a part, if you look at it, when he goes to throw with the ball, it falls out of the thing, but then they cut to the next shot of Berenger, and you see the ball whipped at him. I was like, they didn't catch that in editing. And there was another bad spot in the apartment when Berenger comes in with the big box. The first guy he shoots, when you watch, you could see a cable pull him back through the whole. I mean, it's 100% visible. Like, it's the most obvious cable I've ever seen in my life. Great job on the editing to the people of The Substitute also.
I love it.
In the police shootout, I forget who it was, but they were fighting in a classroom and someone gets shot. Oh, it was Berenger when he was hiding in the corner. He killed the other mercenary with the tape. When he shoots him, though, the guy seemingly very gently hits the chalkboard that falls into a million pieces. Like, I don't know if you've ever been around a school chalkboard, but
hey, man, I'm old. Remember? Come on, I was around with those chalkboards.
Yeah, they're very sturdy.
It broke like porcelain. Yeah,
it literally broke like a Ritz cracker. Like if you threw a baseball at a Ritz cracker, that's how it broke. It was the craziest thing. I looked it down. I was like, again, why was that there? It was unnecessary. No one's like, wow, he really shot him because the chalkboard broke also. They had all these moments in this movie where you're going, no need for that. The fart.
Oh, God, that's better.
You know, the thing breaking, the hydraulics of the car. It's like they just had the hydraulic car on set, or someone had the car and they're like, throw it in the movie. It was just a weird movie that made no sense.
And then they had the big shootout at the end. So it was actually hired mercenaries attacking these guys that are mercenaries. I think it was hired mercenaries that were attacked, not cops.
Yeah. It was other mercenaries, but not good ones because they got taken out very easily.
Well, there were some casualties. Let's give this film some credit. Tom Berenger's group lost more people, and I love how at the end they lost everyone on their team except for him and one other guy, Johnny Six, and they acted like it was just another day at work, losing their friends.
Well, to them it is. When you're a merc,
Oh, maybe
bodies are being blown away every day. So you get used to that sort of thing. Even though it seemed like they were a brotherhood. In the beginning of the movie, you get this vibe of, oh, these guys are a solid brotherhood, almost to the point that it's family type thing. That's the way they'll portray it. But when they get killed, whatever.
Because they leave the school. The school's now officially destroyed. I'm going to read you the dialogue here between Joey Six and Shale, that's played by Tom Berenger. They've just had major deaths. There's bodies everywhere. They've lost team members, and now they're acting like this is the end of a romantic comedy or buddy-buddy show.
Let's get out of here.
The cops have got great response time. What did it take them, 3 hours?
Roy said they were on his payroll. What do you expect?
It's definitely time to relocate.
Yeah.
It's too bad we had to fuck up the school. I feel bad for the kids tomorrow, man.
They'll be okay. At least it's their school again.
Yeah. Where the hell are we gonna go, man?
How's LA sound?
Like more palm trees.
I hear the schools out there have a major drug problem.
No more schools, man. Forget it.
You can teach PE.
PE? Oh, what? I look retarded?
Okay, math.
Fuck that.
Then cue the credits. Isn't that hilarious? No indication about the fiance. Is she a part of the story or nothing? Or what's going on here?
Again, I don't know their relationship. Their relationship is honestly one of the weirdest, most non-explained relationships in film. She was just there as the cause for the movie, but even that made no sense because, again, she didn't do anything that warranted a hit to be put out on her in broad daylight on a very busy beach, might I add, too. It's not like they followed her in the garage, which you would have thought that would be the place to get her. Nope. Broad daylight on like a Saturday afternoon on the most popular beach in Florida county that they're in. And this guy decides now's the time to do this. But luckily, no matter where she goes, Berenger's 2 seconds behind her whenever she's in danger. Thank God, because he steps in, 2 or 3 times, I think, to save her right at the right moment.
We'll say when she was attacked at the beginning of the film by that big guy, I didn't feel very hopeful about Berenger's fighting abilities. He got his ass kicked.
Well, again, too, because you watch him and he's so slow. Like, he's extremely slow.
Berenger was 47 in this film, by the way.
Yeah, I believe it. Because he looked like dog shit. When did the second one come out? Because I know it was like 10 years later, right?
So this movie was so popular and so it did so well at the box office. It made $14 million at the box office. Did you know that it's a franchise? Unlike Sniper, Tom Berenger did not continue the franchise. It continued with Treat Williams took on the role as the sub.
That's right. He's in the sequel. Is he in the third one also?
Oh, he's in parts 2, 3, and 4.
Wow, that's right. I forgot that he took over the reins for that. Is he the same character or no?
I didn't look into that far.
I like Treat Williams. You ever see what is it, Miller's Crossing?
Oh, it's been so long, but yeah, I have.
Coen Brothers movie?
Yeah,
right?
I've seen every Coen's brother film.
You know, the only one I didn't watch was the Ballad of Buster.
That's good. Watch that one like an episodic miniseries because each one is like a chapter. It's a long film, but there's like stories one after another. So I'd watch it in piecemeal if I were you. Yeah, he plays a different character called Carl Thomason. So probably the same idea, but different character. Yeah.
And then what was the other one I didn't see? Blood Simple, their first one.
I totally forgot he was in those. I might be worth reviewing.
No, I'm not saying he's in that. I'm saying Coen Brothers movies I haven't seen.
Oh, you haven't seen Blood Simple? You have to. That's the journey. The journey begins.
I put it on one time, and I don't remember why I stopped it. It was probably the kids or something. Or Jess, when I try to watch certain movies with her, she'll give a movie 10 seconds and like, that's stupid, change it. But then when I actually get her to sit through things, 10 out of 10 times she's like, wow, that was really good. Like, she just watched The Godfather 6 months ago for the first time. It's been on in my house a million times, and she's seen pieces of it, and every time she goes, this movie's stupid.
I'm surprised because you guys watch Sopranos every year.
Well, that was my thing with her. So I was like, all right, I'll never ask you again. Sit down one time, watch Godfather beginning to end. Within 20 minutes, she's on the edge of the couch, elbows on her knees, glued to the TV. And I'm just looking, smiling. And about an hour and a half later, I look over, I go, it's pretty good, isn't it? She goes, shut up. I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. Like, sit there and tell me The Godfather's not good. When people do that, like Richie's one of those people. He tells me he's watched it. I know he hasn't. There's no way to watch that movie and legitimately go, it's not a good movie. It's impossible. It's the perfect film. It's my number one movie. Your audience doesn't really know me, but I am a gigantic film head. If you can see behind the camera right now, I have literally a wall in my basement that's 15 feet long. That is 2 gigantic bookshelf type things that I made for the walls, filled with DVDs and Blu-rays. There's over like 1,500 store-bought, no bootleg movies down here. And I can't imagine anybody with a brain in their head saying The Godfather's not good if you've actually watched it.
No, it's a universally acclaimed for a reason as one of the greatest films, if not the greatest film to ever be made. Yeah, The Godfather 1 and 2, those together are just incredible 2 films of all time. Absolutely.
The 2, she didn't care for that much.
Oh, really?
Wow. I prefer 2 over 1. But there's a lot of subtitles and a lot of old New York 1920.
I love that stuff. I love that stuff.
I do too, but it's not for everyone, so I can understand. And it's 2 very different stories that you're jumping back and forth to, so it can get a little confusing also. Yeah, she wasn't the biggest fan of that one. I didn't even bother with 3 with her, though. I was like, we'll skip 3. There's no... no.
It's still actually a good movie. That's the thing. Compared to the other Godfathers, yes, but compared to other films, it's still a great movie. That's how I look at it.
I agree. That's how I say it when people ask me about it. I go, is it a bad movie? Not by any means. Is it comparable to the first 2? Not by any means.
Yeah.
But they put out that Coda one. Did you watch that?
I haven't.
He didn't, me neither. I was good at. But I was like, if it's not good, I'm going to be annoyed. I wasted 3.5 hours again watching part 3. So,
well, before we close, do you want to plug Jessica? How people can see her?
Well, she has an OnlyFans. If you like looking at naked girls, go to Red Sexy on OnlyFans and subscribe.
Look, your wife is beautiful. We all know that. She's gorgeous. And I've been a fan of your show for years. So, of course, I've seen her, and I loved the show you guys did together, Unfiltered Marriage. It's too bad it's not on anymore. So, of course, I know what Jessica looks like. She's very attractive, very voluptuous up top. When I heard that she was doing an OnlyFans, like, gosh dang it, why am I married? Because I would... I don't think I could justify with my wife becoming that. But to all you guys out there, support Jessica.
Tell her, hey, it's prep work for the podcast. Rocky's coming on, and, I want to learn everything I can about him.
Josh, is he an OnlyFans member? Do you know?
He hates us.
I know he does, but come on, he's wanted to see those puppies for.
I'm sure he is. You know what it is? You don't know who the people are that are subscribers.
Oh, okay.
Because they have their own screen names, and then there's nothing to indicate where they're from, who they are. It's just a made up.
How's it billed? Does it say Ryan is a member of Coffee Flavor of the Month, or?
I think it says OnlyFans.
I know. It's a joke.
Yeah. But yeah, get pretty racy on there.
Good for you for supporting that. And truly, she is worth every penny. I'm telling you right now, guys, if you saw Jessica, let me just say, I would pay money, but I can't. I just can't.
I occasionally get involved too. So.
Oh, there you go. Wow. There you go.
Yeah, it's very explicit, sometimes. Of course, we got my Twitter, RockySU11. Go there. Follow me. I tweet sometimes. I'm more on Instagram, which if you go to ROK6611, I do Instagram more probably than Twitter. Twitter's more of just reading and getting news really for me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Super Ugly Show, YouTube. Not The Super Ugly Show, just Super Ugly Show on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell. We got a few more shows left until we stop for a little bit. We're going to stop at 300, and I think we're at 298 now.
Yeah.
Next one will be 298. So we got 3 more. Hopefully for 300, we're going to get some surprises in. With 200, I had Opie on from Opie and Anthony. If you don't know who that is, just search Opie and Anthony on YouTube. Listen to clips. You'll absolutely laugh your ass off. We had Vince on that night. I think there was people here too, Orlando, John.
Yeah.
But it was a good time on 200. So 300 should be good. And it's kind of going to be not a farewell, but
we'll see in a bit.
Yeah, we'll see you in the future type thing.
Well, I can't wait till you guys come back on. I'll be there. I've listened to everything you guys have done the last 5 years, so I'm a supporter of your channel, and I know it can be hard as a very independent podcaster myself. I understand the grind is real. One might feel that they should get more than what they're getting, and not that.
Oh no, I feel that way 1,000,000%.
Yeah, I know, and you guys really should. You're one of the funniest podcasts I listen to. Honestly, you're one of like 3 shows I look forward to listening to and laughing with. I love Richie's inability to understand the universe around him. I don't get it. I don't understand.
He lives in his own world.
You'll say stuff. It's like, how does he not know XYZ? It makes me laugh though. I wouldn't change
His
it.
memory too, over the past, I'm not kidding, over the past 2 years has turned into mush. Like I look at him and go, Rich, we've had a lengthy discussion about this, and he'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, holy shit, dude. It worries me about my big friend. He's a giant. For the people who don't know him, he worries me sick. He doesn't take care of himself health-wise. And I love him to death. And I'm like, one of these days I'm going to get a call that he just dropped dead from a heart attack.
Oh, I do.
You know, he's a big dude, and you know, if you don't take care of yourself, big guys like him don't last.
That's true. I truly love you guys. Tell Richie that I'm sad I didn't get to chat with him. I have before, but I understand it. But he's a good guy. He's loved. And you
Honestly,
guys...
it's Saturday and he's got the barbershop. I'm sure he didn't even think about it, but he's probably still cutting hair right now.
That's fair. That's fair. All good, brother. Thank you so much, Rocky, for coming on. It was truly a pleasure, and I hope we get to talk again.
Absolutely. The pleasure was all mine, buddy. Yes, we will do this again. Even when I stop, if you want to hit me up and do a show, I'm not stopping doing everything. If someone calls up and is like, hey, you want to hop on? If I like you enough, I'll do it. You know,
I appreciate that. I think I will, because boy, you were firing today, and it makes my job easier. You did take over, which I love. That's why I invited you on. I didn't want anything different than what I got from you today.
Well, thank you, brother. And, you know, if I do start going too hard, you know, you're accepted in my world enough where you can go, hey, shut the fuck up for a second, and I won't take offense.
Okay, I'll try that next time. All right, brother.
All right.
Have a good night, okay?
All right, you too. Take it easy, my man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.